Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Naga Munchetti.
Headlines for you at 6 o'clock this morning. Face coverings will have to be worn in secondary schools in England, but only in areas which are under local lockdown.
The footballer Harry Maguire is dropped from the England squad after being given a suspended prison sentence in Greece.
Yes, the Manchester United captain is to appeal the verdict. Harry Maguire says he and his family are the victims and he has the backing of his club.
US First Lady Melania Trump takes centre stage at the Republican convention and calls for Americans to come together.
Good morning. What's set to happen to office spaces like this? The BBC has spoken with 50 of the UK's biggest employers and none of them plan to bring all of their staff back anytime soon. What does it mean for business? What does it mean to you and your family?
We're exploring hidden gems this morning, those natural wonders that are right on your doorstep. You didn't necessarily know they were there, but now they're an essential part of your daily life.
Good morning. Storm Francis packed a punch yesterday. Even overnight, we had gusts of wind at 81 miles an hour in the Needles. Now, this morning, still gusty winds, especially across central and eastern areas. They'll ease. Then we're in for a day of sunshine and showers. I'll have all the details later in the programme.
It's Wednesday, it's the 26th of August. Now, face coverings will have to be worn in secondary schools in some parts of England after the government changed its guidance last night.
Now, it says that pupils and staff in areas which are subject to lockdown restrictions should now wear them in communal areas like corridors. Primary schools aren't affected. Our education correspondent Elaine Dunkley has more.
It will soon be back to school for children across England, and face coverings could be an essential part of their kit. New guidance issued by the government will leave it up to head teachers to decide on whether it's necessary for staff and students to wear face coverings in communal areas such as corridors. However, face coverings will be compulsory in areas where there is a local lockdown. The government says the guidance doesn't include primary schools because the risk of transmission is low, but does apply to secondary schools, colleges and universities.
I think what we've got is clarity that if you're in an area which is higher risk, higher transmission rates, then there is an expectation that young people around school will be wearing those face coverings. But equally, there's the flexibility in other areas for you as a leader, working with your staff, working with your governors, working with the community to do what's right in your context.
The Department for Education had initially been reluctant for children to wear face coverings in schools because of concern that it could make communication difficult between teachers and students, but says it's revised its guidance following scientific advice from the World Health Organization, which recommends that children over the age of 12 should wear a face covering when social distancing is difficult.
It should be mandatory, not just in local lockdown areas, but in all areas for schools within communal areas, within the corridors, to be supported to enforce face masks being worn for children over the age of 12. And I think that will be a clear policy that every school could follow, rather than being told it's up to each individual head teacher to make their own policy, and schools and parents not knowing where they are.
Schools in Scotland will advise pupils to wear face coverings in corridors and shared areas from next week, and Northern Ireland has issued similar guidance. In Wales, the issue is under review. Elaine Dunkley, BBC News.
Our political correspondent Leila Nathu is in Westminster for us. Leila, good morning to you. So, slight shift in change of policy by the government and under pressure to go even further.
Morning, Naga. Well, I think the government has certainly left the door open to go even further, saying that if transmission rises across the country, then the guidance will get stricter. That is something that Labour are calling for face masks to be compulsory in all secondary school corridors and communal areas, although it is worth noting that they weren't calling for that earlier this week. But it's clear that the government haven't gone quite as far as Scotland and Northern Ireland have done. It isn't a complete change of direction. Wales, as you you heard there is keeping their guidance under review, and ministers think that this version of the policy is in line with the World Health Organization guidance. But it is worth noting that the World Health Organization guidance changed 5 days ago, and since then we have heard ministers staunchly defending that face masks weren't actually recommended because of all the other mitigation measures that are being put in place in schools. So it is clear that the government has responded to pressure. I think they don't want to look as if they were bounced into it by the Scottish government taking action first, which has been the case on various other policies in the past. But I think it is clear that pressure was mounting on ministers for a change in direction, and they have now made this shift and left the door open to going further. But it seems to me that they are prepared to take the political hit, if you like, off a reversal, looking like they have not been on the front foot on this issue, if it helps parents, teachers and pupils have more confidence to get back into classrooms, because that is the immediate political priority. You've been hearing Boris Johnson, Gavin Williamson, the Education Secretary, talk about this a lot in recent days. The priority is for a full return to classrooms across the country over the coming weeks, and that would be a much greater political hit if that didn't happen.
Layla, thanks very much for taking us through that. Of course, we're going to be talking to the Education Secretary, Gavin Williamson. He's joining us at 7:30.
Elsewhere this morning, Manchester United captain Harry Maguire has been dropped from the England squad after being convicted in a Greek court.
The 27-year-old was given a suspended 21-month prison sentence after being found guilty of assault, resisting arrest and attempted bribery. He denies the charges and says he'll appeal. Our sports editor Dan Rowan has more.
After a long season, Harry Maguire enjoying himself on a well-earned break in Mykonos last week. But his summer holiday was about to descend into scandal. On Saturday, after spending 2 nights in police cells, the £80 million defender emerged from court alongside brother Joe, one of 2 co-defendants, having been arrested and charged after becoming embroiled in an altercation with police. Having pleaded not guilty, Maguire was not required to attend, as the trial started earlier in nearby Syros. But on a dramatic day, the court heard that Maguire had physically and verbally attacked police before trying to bribe them. "Do you know who I am?" he's alleged to have said. "I'm the captain of Manchester United. I'm very rich. I can give you money. I can pay you. Please let us go." The defence insisted a brawl had earlier erupted after Maguire's sister, Daisy, had been approached by 2 Albanian men and injected with an unknown substance. Maguire's lawyers claimed their client had later acted in self-defence after being kicked by plain-clothed officers and had not realised they were police. But in a verdict that sent shockwaves through the sport, the panel of judges found Maguire guilty of aggravated assault, resisting arrest and repeated attempts of bribery. The player's father, who'd been in court, emerging after hearing his son had been handed a suspended 21-month prison sentence. Maguire instructing his legal team to appeal and saying in a statement that he and his family were the victims. Only hours earlier, the world's most expensive defender, who's established himself as a central figure for both club and country, had surprisingly been included in the England squad. Manager Gareth Southgate telling me he saw no need to wait for a verdict.
In these instances, I think you can only make decisions on facts that you're aware of. Now, clearly, if facts change further down the line or information changes, then I have to review that decision.
And that's exactly what he then had to do. Tonight, Southgate axing Maguire from his squad in an embarrassing U-turn. Dan Rowan, BBC News.
Well, Harry Maguire responded to the sentencing on Instagram last night. He posted a quote from Buddha, here it is, which reads, "3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon and the truth." That's all he's had to say about it so far.
The lawyers for the family of Jacob Blake say that he'll need a miracle to walk again after the 29-year-old was shot in the back by police in the United States, in the US state of Wisconsin on Sunday.
His parents have called for an end to violent protests about the shooting, but they said the officers involved should be held to account.
As I was riding through here, through the city, I noticed a lot of damage. It doesn't reflect my son or my family.
They shot my son 7 times. 7 times. Like he didn't matter. but my son matters. He's a human being, and he matters.
The US First Lady Melania Trump took centre stage on day 2 of the Republican National Convention, where she made the case for President Donald Trump's re-election.
Speaking from the Rose Garden at the White House, the wife of the president also discussed the coronavirus pandemic, saying her husband will not rest until he has done all that he can to take care of everyone affected. Our North America correspondent Peter Bowes has more.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Another night at the Trump family convention. The president, 2 of his children and his wife all address the virtual gathering with the theme Land of Opportunity.
These are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Tiffany Trump, the president's youngest daughter, lashed out at the media and Silicon Valley for promoting what she called fabricated views.
People must recognize that our thoughts, our opinions, and even the choice of who we are voting for may and are being manipulated and visibly coerced by the media and tech giants.
I'm Mike Pompeo.
Breaking from a tradition that US Secretaries of State stay above the political fray, America's top diplomat addressed the convention from Jerusalem.
The president has held China accountable for covering up the China virus and allowing it to spread death and economic destruction in America and around the world.
The star of the night was Melania Trump, stepping out from the White House to deliver a live speech from the Rose Garden, another unconventional setting, and with an audience. She said she'd been reflecting on the racial unrest seen around America.
I like to call on the citizens of this country to take a moment, pause, and look at things from all perspectives. I urge people to come together in a civil manner so we can work and live up to our standard American ideals.
The First Lady said she was proud of her husband's achievements in office, acknowledging that he's not a traditional politician.
We all know Donald Trump makes no secrets about how he feels about things. Total honesty is what we as citizens deserve from our president.
A softer approach to selling Donald Trump for another term in the White House. Peter Bowes, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Time now is 12 minutes past 6. A court in New Zealand has heard more stories of survival and loss during the 3rd day of sentencing for the Christchurch mosque terror attacks.
29-year-old Brenton Tarrant admits killing 51 people while they prayed at 2 city mosques last year. He faces life in prison without parole. Well, joining us now live from the High Court in Christchurch is TVNZ's Ryan Boswell. There is a long delay on the line. Ryan, thank you for joining us once again on BBC Breakfast. Give us a rundown then of another emotional 3rd day in court.
These victims have been so brave, confronting the gunmen who took their loved ones and changed their lives forever. Initially, we were expecting to hear from around 60 victims to front up to court and tell their stories. That number keeps growing as they feel empowered to tell their stories and come face to face with Brenton Tarrant. One man saying that he could not forgive Tarrant for his actions and that Tarrant deserved to go to hell. It has been a very intense day here at the High Court in Christchurch, with another man also fronting up, in fact in a wheelchair because he was injured during the shooting, saying that his greatest fear was for his 10-year-old son who witnessed the shootings taking place, saying that he in fact had nightmares and continued to have nightmares about his father being shot and people dying around him. It's been truly traumatic.
And watching some of those statements, Ryan, obviously Brenton Tarrant is in court, he's listening to those victim impact statements, but he was laughing during some of them yesterday as well.
Yeah, he did laugh at a couple of points as people presented their thoughts on what had taken place. And in fact, at one stage, one victim put down his statement and then addressed Tarrant face to face, saying that when he had moved to New Zealand as a 17-year-old, he was called a terrorist himself, and that changed on March the 15th, and that now Brenton Tarrant was the terrorist, and at that point the court erupted into applause. Now, what we will see today is these victim impact statements come to a close, and then the judge will look at the case and weigh up the legal arguments before summing everything up and then handing down that sentence. And many victims today have been calling for Tarrant to be sent to prison for life with no parole.
Ryan Boswell, thank you very much for giving us the very latest from Christchurch. And as Ryan was telling us there, that's day 3, and we expect things to conclude on day 4 of that trial.
Let's take a look at the papers. Start with the Telegraph. A few of the front pages this morning leading with news that some secondary school children in England will have to wear face coverings in school. Telegraph says the announcement came despite ministers insisting for days that there would be no change. Pictured is James Anderson. He took his 600th wicket in England's test against Pakistan last night. You know, you can hear me smiling through my words.
Let's have a look at the front page of The Guardian. The school face covering story is also their lead. They say the PM bowed to pressure from head teachers.
Harry Maguire is on the front page of the Daily Mirror, which says that the footballer will appeal his sentence, having claimed, if anything, myself, my family and friends are the victims.
And you just heard a little piece of it there. Melania Trump's speech at the Republican National Convention has got plenty of people talking on social media, particularly on Twitter. Overnight, the First Lady acknowledged the country's worries over coronavirus and said the President would not rest until the pandemic is dealt with. I'm doing some crafty folding here. Do you want to start with your inside pages? You're getting rid of a dodgy image, are you? Well, no, I've got 2 stories I want here. I've got a nice picture. Have a look at this, OK? This is called... where's this from? Bear with me. Hold on. This is from the Telegraph. Have a look at this. Oh, this is the Red Arrows. This was delayed, wasn't it? Yeah. This is the Red Arrows flying over Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh. This is to mark the 75th anniversary of VJ Day. As Naga said, the original fly past on the 15th of August was postponed because of bad weather. Look, what a picture. Imagine... Can you see the little people here on the top of Arthur's Seat? What a moment that would have been if you were there for that. Well, I have been folding. It's the same page. Oh, funnily enough. You weren't going to show the same picture, were you? No. I wasn't going to show the same picture. There's a good story lower down the page about space and saying, how about if I do it like that? Hold on. There we go. So, research on the International Space Station confirms that microbe colonies can live in the harshest environments. So, panspermia. That is the definition of a theory that organisms can migrate between planets, moons and solar systems, right? So up to 1 millimetre thick of these cells can survive for something like for up to 8 years, survive in space. So there could be life out there. And there was another one, and this one I think would have pleased Lou a lot. Top dog liked on social media. Go on then. Labradors. Oh, she's got 2, hasn't she? She's got one and one black lab and a different one. I'm not fully up on the dog. You're not fully up on Lou's dogs. Yeah. No, but the dog most liked on social media is the Labrador. It's International Dog Day, so this research came in. Cocker Spaniels second, Siberian Huskies. Now they are beautiful dogs. They came third. Some very important dog news there. That is very important dog news. What can I say? Remarkable live folding of a newspaper there. That was very impressive. How long do you think you sit down for during a day? Obviously 3 hours on a breakfast 3 hours, morning. 4 hours on a Saturday. I don't sit down a lot. Maybe I'd say 5 hours. OK, well, if you sit down for 4.5 hours or more, then you are sedentary. And sedentary Britain, says the headline. Britain is getting worse with a huge rise in the number of people who spend more than 4.5 hours a day sitting down. The number has jumped 22.5% in 15 years, one of the highest increases in Europe, with more than half of us potentially risking their health by sitting down for too long. We're one of the worst in Europe, but evidence shows, says this study, that sitting for too long increases the risks of heart attack, stroke and early death.
The thing is, there is a problem with this, right? So we sit down for 3 hours a day,
Yes.
right? I'm going to upset the director now. Let's both stand up.
OK.
Right, let's both stand up.
Yeah.
So if we both did the job, there you go.
There you go.
There you go. To me, that looks better.
This is an issue, yes. You see,
This is the issue.
I'm not even lit up here, look. This is the problem.
No, and
Our director Erin is moaning now, so I think we should sit down.
She's a bit upset. She's upset we didn't give her any warning, but, you know, Erin likes it that way. How do you tell if a bird is happy? What kind of song would a bird be singing? What style of music was that?
I don't know. That was my impression of bird song.
What style of music do you think a bird would sing?
Classical.
Classical?
Yeah.
What, a bit of Brahms or Mozart? What are you thinking?
I don't know. A bit of Tchaikovsky?
Jazz.
Oh.
That's how you tell if a bird is happy when it's singing. So it seems birds of the winged variety, as opposed to birds of the unwinged variety, this is what it says, are keen to get in on the act. Biologists believe birds don't sing purely to mark out territory or find a mate. They just do it because they enjoy it.
OK.
I mean, if they have those marvellous voice boxes, why not?
I'm
Why wouldn't
in full
you?
agreement. Thank you. I feel like I've been slightly educated there.
It's the opioids that are produced in their brains that makes them enjoy it. They sing when they get together as well.
There you go.
Sociable creatures.
So much to learn.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.